Janelle, you're recording it, Molly.
I'm recording? What?
No, we just hit record because Janelle reminded we forgot the first part.
Yeah.
We should at least do the second part. Thank you.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yes, thank you for that. I didn't have the chat open. I was like, what did I do? I'm recording? Okay, good. We're recording now. Thank you. And then another suggestion from this study was to measure strategy outcomes. FTF should develop a monitoring and evaluation plan to measure FRC impact in Arizona, which is what we are attempting to do through the Protective Factors Survey and this Listen for Good survey. So I feel like these kind of are all coming together at a really great opportunity and timing. So that's what we are looking to do on First Things First and to improve implementation for the Family Resource Center strategy. I wanted to open it up for any questions about this survey specifically, but I'm going to shift it to like 1 or 2 minutes on this topic because we did go a little bit over, but I felt that it was really important for everyone to be able to ask their questions for Listen for Good, because these we can always come back to in another community of practice. Listen for Good was a really timely and important conversation. So real quickly, does anyone have any questions about the survey that was shared or anything about that? I'll pause right there for that.
Molly, can I add one context? Probably, so Isabel, for those of you who were part of the conversation, was actually an FTF staff, and she worked with me in the eval team. So it was so exciting to get a project. So the context for that one was not an evaluation of your, performance or outcomes or anything. The Isabel project, the project we FTF asked Isabel to help us was because we added a new theory of change. And, we had these 3 levels. We wanted to know when we are talking about that level 1, which is FRC, who do the base referral and resources, may not do a evidence-based PEs with FTF funding or may do a, family support coordination. At the base level, how is everybody understanding theory of change? What are some things that they may have to say at the get-go? So from an eval world, Allison, Julie, and I are here from both lens. When you get to outcome and only you see at the end what's working, what not working, sometimes you miss in the beginning if people were not on the same page. So did they understand the standards of practice the way we intended to? Did they understand the theory of change, or is the way they are implementing the program or how they are envisioning, is it even aligned to what FTF wants? That was our idea for why we asked Isabel to collect some input, and we additionally sent the survey so that walking into it, we know that, okay, we are all on the same page, or is there some technical assistance or some additional support needed somewhere? And that's also the lens from which we ask these, at level 1, we ask the parent activities, parent workshop, different things. And to your question earlier, Corey, about how does the protective factor survey in relation to the L4G works, that was one of the things, because until we understand more about implementation, right, it's one thing on paper, but then you are unique 45 sites serving unique families from the community. So it's not one size fit all. So that is one of the reasons for us to learn a little bit more. And that's the whole purpose of the continued community practice conversation, so that we are being careful in our measurement and not making some assumptions that might not be translated in the data or the information we get. So I just want to add that context.
Thank you, Rupa.
Oh, Janelle has a question, Molly. So Janelle, we didn't send the survey. That study already completed. So if you want to know if you answered the survey, I think, Molly, you can go back and confirm, because we had sent an email for anyone who did not participate. We had a small set of people work with Isabel intentionally because it's just a representative sample, but we wanted to make sure some of the questions were so critical for understanding implementation is what we sent again to those who didn't participate. So we can, if you are curious to see if anyone from your team, still answered or is it missing, I'll have Molly, you circle back with folks if you didn't hear back from anyone. But it was more we would like to know, and it's not like a required, you need to have this. It was more for us to understand and for being intentionally inclusive. So people didn't feel like, hey, I didn't participate in the study, so I don't know what happened. We want to make sure everybody saw, and me introducing the idea for why we did that is to let you know we wanted to walk in with the same vision. Everybody has the same idea of why, because you may have your purpose of FRC could go beyond why FTF funds FRC, right? Because you may have so many other reasons. We wanted to be very clear to you that for us, this is what it is. With Molly.
All right, thank you, Rupa. Any other questions, just in general about that study? Okay, I'm gonna move us along for time's sake. Okay, I'm gonna skip to our, we're gonna break up into breakout sessions. And from the FRC study that we, or I guess the evaluation study that Isabel did for us, we found out that only 69% of centers are able to adhere to the part in the standards of practice that requires recruitment of new families on a weekly basis. So we saw this as one of the big challenges that family resource centers are struggling with. And part of the reasons why is limited staff time and limited capacity. So I wanted to have an opportunity for us to break out into small rooms and talk about, is your FRC able to comply with what the standards of practice is asking? Are you able to do weekly recruitment to recruit new families? And then talk about what are some strengths around this area? What are some challenges? And I'll put this in the chat so that you guys can refer back to. And then what are maybe some possible solutions to that? Or do you have any out of the box solutions or ideas to get around staff time and capacity issues, but being able to still work on recruiting new families to your Family Resource Center weekly? So Michelle is going to get us into our breakout sections, and I'm going to put in here in the chat what we're going to talk about.
All right, everyone, we have 15 minutes in those breakout spaces, and I'm going to open the rooms right now.
Michelle, just
Yes.
so that you know, unless you're going to put the questions, when there's some provision, when you go into breakout sessions, the question may not show up. It happens all the time when we internally meet. So are you going to have a provision for us to still see the question in the breakout sessions, or people should copy that into their desktops or something?
Yes,
oh, sorry, go ahead, Michelle.
I would recommend copying it. We can broadcast it, but the broadcast message will go away.
I have an FTF staff that's going to be in every breakout room, and I just sent them a chat of what these are so they can post it in their breakout session.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, we'll open up those rooms. Myra, do you see an invitation to hop into a breakout space? Oh. Myra, I'm going to move you to room 3 because sometimes that will trigger Zoom to behave itself. So one moment.
Welcome back. Does everybody else just feel like they're hurled back into a room like mid sentences? Hopefully you guys had some really good discussions. I know in my group we had some really awesome outside of the box thinking and problem solving to some of the challenges we are facing. So we're going to have one person just real quick do a quick recap of some of the maybe solutions that you have found or some unique opportunities to help with the recruitment of families. So we will start with my group. Yenny, if you want to do a quick recap of some of the things we discovered in our time together.
Yes, so real quick, some of the challenges that we were finding was just the staff capacity, number of staff having to prepare for classes or other things needed to be done. Staff needed to be on site for safety purposes, also to be able to provide information to the community. And then what are we doing? So we're sending one outreach person to be out in the community. We're doing follow-ups with the community. We're also having that word of mouth from our parents and others who come to our programs. Parents have helped to distribute flyers, using the school system to distribute information, and ensuring that staff is knowledgeable on all programs that are within the center.
Thank you so much. Okay, next we will go over to Kendra's group, and she said, ask Molly to report back.
Oh, lovely. Hi. So we talked about mainly, a lot of it was strengths that we saw us having with being connected to school districts, knowing that we have so many opportunities to collaborate with, like, kindergarten readiness programs that the district provides, or kindergarten enrollment sessions. So those were some of the main takeaways from that. I think some of the barriers that we saw just was time. It was trying to figure out, on top of an already busy program schedule, like, how do we get back out into different parts of the community? Where are there areas, because we're all unique, that we could be missing? So that was the main takeaway from our conversation related to that.
Thank you so much. Okay, I heard Jackie from Allison's group would be a good person to report back.
Sorry, I nominated you / threw you under the bus, Jackie.
See
I'm
here.
sorry. I'm sorry. I had a colleague come over and ask a question real quick. So for challenges, we talked about, or I talked about, all of the outerling areas where we don't have those families that have access to us, so we have to get the information out there. We're doing a lot of talking in the community. We're invited to different things that are going on. So we've partnered up with churches, with different schools, charter schools. We're just trying to get the word out to the community, and it's hard because Yenny knows, because some of those families are way out by Yenny, and some of them are in Tonopah, some of them are out in Gila Bend, and so we keep in communication, Yenny and I, and the girls out in Gila Bend as well, so that I know what kind of information I can give them, or resources that we have here in-house that they don't have access to out there in the outskirts. We are able to provide information that way. I do communicate a lot with counselors in the schools. We talked, I forget who said that their challenge was the staff. They mentioned that they didn't have enough staffing at their site. Out here, I feel like it's kind of nice because there's two of us, and one of us is more like doing the digital stuff, and the other one is more like out there in the community. So, but relationships that we've created are relationships with Department of Child Safety. They're able to provide information about our center ongoing workshops that we're doing. If they're visiting with their child, they're welcome to come into one of our workshops and hang out and get that information, gain some information from the people that we have out. We had a sleep awareness going on, and we had a few people talking about safe sleep during that time. And during that time, a few parents came over with their littles, and they got really good information. And then they were able to sit down and participate in like a literacy little time with their child. And then they left. I felt like a lot of the stuff that they get out of here is it's intentional. It's for the parent and the child. So I think my way of recruiting is making those relationships with community members. The school counselors, they're able to put that on their peach jar or do their email blasts or flyers. But like I was telling my group, I feel like keeping in communication and keep sending those emails out constantly and let them know, like, are there any new parents? Do you have any new parents? I've reached out to Catholic Charities, and those ladies came over to our site, took a tour, and then I was able to talk to the ones that are in charge of the home visiting programs, and they have a wait list, and so they're able to give my information to those parents on the wait list. Like, no, you didn't get into Head Start, you're placed on that wait list, but here, let me give you Jackie's info. And then I keep checking in with them. Do you have any new parents for me? Is there anyone on a wait list that I can reach out to? And I've created myself like an email list, and I'll send out emails to those parents as well. But I just think like keeping in contact with those relationships that you've created in the community is crucial, because if you don't, then they forget about you.
Thank you. What a great opportunity to be able to bring parents over on a wait list to be able to come to your center. And then last, Julia's group, anyone to quickly recap what was discussed in your breakout session?
Okay, I think Julia should have done it because she was just there observing and she got it all in. But they want me to keep talking. So what we did talk about is the main thing was about recruiting and how difficult it has been since the pandemic. It is over, but nothing is the same. We still don't go out like we used to. We still don't have activities that are readily. They're trying to bring them back, but the outreach and going and setting up a table, it's not like it used to be. But the thing is that we did talk a lot about how to reach and be a part of other, like the diversity councils through the clinics, the community councils, going to those meetings because they are virtual and they will share your flyer, because someone did mention that you can't pass your flyer around as much and take it to different organizations or businesses, or they don't want you to just put up flyers. So you have to build that relationship, go there, be a part of those councils, be a part of those meetings, and they will share your flyer for the most part, because it's all about your resources and referrals. There's so many more organizations that have weekly or monthly meetings that you can become a part of, where you can share your information. Janelle did talk about how they did do their outreach on the mornings that they open up late, but it's a little difficult sometimes because what are you doing early in the morning? So we talked about how to go to those doctor offices, the OB/GYN, the pediatrics, the pediatrician offices, and share the information so they can share the resources with their families, because there's the car seat classes. And I did share where someone told me that the hospital let them go home without a car seat with their baby. And I was like, I can't believe that. I don't want to believe that. But what hospital was it? Because I'm going over there and I'm going to let them know this is what you need to do, and share this information with all your doctors so they know that there's a resource that you can help that parent with prior to them even having their child. Same thing with the safe sleep. Even though they might have their first child, their second child, third child, there's always something more to learn. So share that information also, and let them know that there's those resources to help them with those safe sleep classes also. And there's shared duties in some FRCs where they're actually teaching classes and doing the outreach also and the recruiting. So it's kind of double duty, and it would be great if we all had additional funding where you can have someone just dedicated to outreach. I put that plug in there, right? So let's try to figure that out on how to just make it work and share the information. And let's see, what else? Did I miss something? Nope. Okay. I can
Well,
always
thank you so
add. That's
much.
great.
Everyone had such wonderful things to share. It sounds like there was some great conversations in every breakout group. So hopefully this was beneficial just to be able to talk through some challenges you're facing and maybe some possible solutions. Sometimes it's just helpful to hear what other family resource centers are doing, or that they're experiencing the same challenges you. Sometimes that's just a nice thing to know you're not alone in this. And we had some other agenda items that we did not get to today because we brought in Listen for Good and it ran a little bit over time, but I really wanted to make sure that anybody who had a question was able to ask that and have some FaceTime with the Listen for Good reps. So I feel like it was all in good hands, and we'll just shift it over to the next community of practice, which is going to be, and I'd like to do them quarterly, so every 3 months. So we're looking at July. So we'll find some time that works and get it on your calendars as soon as possible, because I know that time fills up pretty quickly. And then one last thing I'd like to remind you is just put the protective factor surveys at the top of your head. If you had created some surveys as test surveys, which we had encouraged, we're asking you to delete those by the end of May, so that as we go in and start looking at surveys and what's there, we're not getting those kind of practice tests. So if you do have any of those practice surveys that you created, delete them by the end of May, so that as we start to go in and look at and provide some TA to you guys around, maybe if we're not seeing all the protective factor surveys that you have put in, we can help with that. Julia and I have found some pretty easy fixes we're finding along the way. As we had mentioned from the beginning, this is a learning opportunity for everyone. So we're all learning as we're going around these protective factors survey. And if you have any questions about those, please reach out to myself or Julia or anyone on the First Things First team. Will be able to get you connected to and answer. Rupa, question?
Just want to add one thing. So if you're, the requirement, hopefully everybody knows when to give a protective factor survey to the family you're serving. There's a specific dosage hours. So when we'll be looking into the system, we'll also see based on your unit of service and how many families did you serve versus how many surveys are we looking at. So if you are having struggle, don't wait until end of May, reach out and talk to us, because this is critical. And even though the COP meeting, the Communities of Practice meeting, or which is called the Coffee with First Things First, won't be until July, we will be for the L4G purposes, we may have some ad hoc meeting with all of you or subgroups of you in between, as well as one of the pieces we may be circling back with you also is some implementation data piece in relation to protective factor survey. Because in the group I was sitting earlier, I heard somebody in the breakout room ask the definition of what does recruitment mean for FTF. Do you really mean like we need to go out and do it in person? Can it be virtual? So that question came up. So I know similar questions have come about that for type of parenting activities. And we'll be having those conversation in July. But as we were looking at the protective factors survey from the data hat, that's one of the things we are going to try to connect. What exactly is your program doing as programming of parenting activities or parent workshop that might be you think is helping them get the improvement you see? Because without that, we can't say the improvement is tied to your FRC. So that is also a piece that will be circling back with you. And, because right now we collect only count of how many things you did, but not really what. So that'll be a conversation we'll be having with you. Most of that probably will be one-on-one rather than trying to group everybody, because you are also unique, but we'll try to find out an approach to get that information so that we are interpreting the data correctly. Back to Molly.
Yeah. So we're just going to be right at time. So I appreciate everybody taking their lunch and 2 hours right in the middle of their day to be here today. We hope that it was beneficial and important for you guys. And any questions, reach out directly. And
Molly, do you want to offer? So Michelle, as part of our FRN, they are kind of helping, facilitate as we need or no take. So one of the things, because today went a little different than we originally planned due to spending a lot more time on L4G, if partners, grant partners, FRCs, if you have some items that you want to see discussed in COP, because we are coming from, here are some things we have. Maybe Molly will create a Google Doc or something and send, so you can suggest, here are some things we would like to discuss when everybody's there in July. So there is a collaborative way of how we are running this, and we are hearing your thoughts. Not all topics may be able to be discussed, but we will work with, Michelle, Molly, and the team to find out how do we hear your voice in the COP and make sure that the agenda is something that what you want to learn from each other, as well as something FTF is looking for. So we'll ensure to do that sooner than later, so that July topic is something not a surprise to you, something that you're informing to.
yeah, thank you, Rupa. I love the suggestion. All right, and with that, that concludes our meeting today. Thank you.
I want to say TGIF, but it's not Friday yet. We have one more day. It feels like a Friday, but have a wonderful afternoon.
Bye, everyone. Thank you so much.